On to other stories now. President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting the Brics Stakeholders Roundtable meeting with the business sector today, and they'll be discussing South Africa's agenda for the upcoming Brics Summit. And government wants the business sector's input in its bid to rejuvenate the economy. We cross live to that event.
Sits on the Chinese investment body, and we are part of Brics. Just enhances our leverage. Within Brics, we are the smallest country in Brics, but as we continue punching way above our weight, we need to use whatever type of leverage that we can to advance the interests of the country. Hence, it is important that all of us should speak the same language with one word, and those who would tend to be a little bit more critical of the country, let's do it within our own confines. As we speak about the country to promote investment, we should be more robust and going out there to promote collaboration with other countries that we to cooperate with. And South Africa's participation in Brics has really been quite outstanding. We've been able to make Brics move in a particular direction which ordinarily they would never have. For instance, President Zuma started this process of getting Brics to have an outreach program. And our outreach program right now, even at this summit, is going to be quite extensive. We have invited a number of countries, of course a number of countries on our own continent, but we've also invited countries in Latin America, in the Pacific, and in Asia, as part of building a broader alliance of countries that more or less see things in the same way. And in this regard, we've invited trading blocs from other parts of the world. So this has broadened the collaboration. And of course, as we all know, the idea of the Brics Bank really came from us. And today we have a Brics Bank. And we as a country, much as some people thought that we were too slow in accessing the funding from the bank, we've now been able to access funding. They are going to fund some important projects. Yes, the proposal that the new development bank should also fund the private sector is a very good one. And I think that is a proposal that needs to be taken forward. For now, they've been looking more at infrastructure programs or projects. I think we now need to extend that so that it is able to fund other projects that are initiated by the private sector. As we participate in Brics, we are obviously mindful of the fact that we are operating in a competitive space. Even the Brics countries are competing with us. They are our partners, but at the same time, we are also their competitors. But within that, we have to find a space for collaboration, for working with them, and for eking out of that collaboration the best that we can get out of this relationship. But we're also competing with the rest of the world. And with the advance of globalization, as we send this investment envoys, and Sello Rasichaba is absolutely right, all of us must see ourselves as investment envoys, each one of us. We've got to go out and raise this $100 billion. It's not only the responsibility of the 4 investment envoys. And when it comes to what is the posture of our investment envoys, this is where the example that the Chinese have of all of them speaking with one voice, this is where, Trevor, it comes in, where we are able, yes, to have a keen and deep understanding of government policy, government's positions, so that we are also able to answer when asked questions. I have found in my interaction with Chinese business people, as you ask them about the Chinese government's policy, they are able to answer. They give you the Chinese government's policy, and where it is intricate, obviously, they will either mumble or waffle or whatever, but they're able to put forward a particular viewpoint. And they also have a very good and keen understanding of their own history, right, from 5,000 years ago. So all of us are then expected to have a very keen and active knowledge of our policy positions on a variety of issues, so that it is not only the domain of Minister Pandor, Minister Davies, to be answering all these questions. And I thought that Trevor was asking this question tongue-in-cheek, because if anybody would know government policy on a number of issues, he is the originator of a number of the policies that we have. And we now need to look at what is it that should begin to make us as good as our Brics partners. Are there any issues that we could say hold us back? For instance, somebody asked about our visa regime. Are we able, through our visa regime, to be able to attract people to come to the country, and even the Brics potential investors? Is our tourism regime attractive enough? And those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And it is through your participation and your insight that you should be able to shed some light for us. Our regulatory framework, is it too costly? Is it too much of an impediment? And these are issues that we would want you to be commenting to us on, because in a number of ways where we stand as government, we possibly are too close to the coalface as not to be able to see some of the impediments. So if we're going to be investment envoys and we come across key challenges, we should be able to raise them. For instance, the investment envoys have raised the land question. They say the land question keeps coming up as they're talking to potential investors out there. And they need to hear our views on the land question. How is it going to be resolved? And they also raise the issue of policy uncertainty. They say it is not so much policy uncertainty, it is more policy consistency that a number of investors are more interested in. And that, in a way, sheds a light on an issue that clearly we as government need to be paying closer attention to make sure that our policies are consistent. And we've had situations where, as ministers have changed, each minister would come and want to change either this or that, and it's largely been maybe the style of approaching things, but the policy should remain consistent over a long period so that investors are able to take decisions on where they put their money. And we should ask ourselves also, is our investment promotion and facilitation effective? The institutions that we have, are they sufficiently effective as to be able to measure up to the peers in most of the countries in the Brics alliance? And some of the countries in the Brics collective of countries are much more robust in terms of promoting investment. Are we doing the same? And what is it that we can do to make things a lot better? Other questions is our policies in a number of areas: manufacturing, energy, telecommunications, financial services, and indeed mining. Are they such that they can attract investors to come to our country? We would like to believe that from a policy point of view, we are effecting change and reforms, and if the reforms are not sufficient, we want to be able to sit down to discuss all these. And of course, the other important thing is, are we focusing sufficiently on skills development? If we are, in what areas should we be driving more and more skills development and acquisition? The other countries, such as China, are so focused on training their people, on developing skills, and in the end, the economy is being propelled, obviously, by their investment, but also by the skills that they have. Jaco asks the question, shouldn't we be playing to our own advantages? And yes, we should be playing to our own advantages. The natural resources that we have given us enormous advantages in the past, and we need to continue with that. We need to continue, yes, mining those products or those minerals, but now there is a new message abroad on the continent, and the new message is beneficiate the minerals that you're mining so that you add value, so that you don't just take out rock and soil and export it to other countries in China, and then they return products to you which you now finally buy. This message is being taken up by a number of countries. I have found when we were at the African Union, a number of heads of government are now beginning to say, this is the path that we must now start going in. For us, what does it mean? It means that we have to bring back to life our manufacturing capability. The whole continent sees South Africa as a great industrial powerhouse. And they say, we want to feed off your capabilities, and one of your capabilities is manufacturing. We want you to lead the continent in terms of manufacturing, and we want you to show us the know-how. Right now, we're transferring some of our skills to one of the African countries in car manufacturing. Car manufacturing is now beginning to take place in other parts of the continent. When we met, when we launched the further investment with Mercedes-Benz, I've said this before, they said we would be very willing to have parts of the Mercedes-Benz vehicles being made here in South Africa. So that opens up enormous opportunities. And these are some of the advantages that we can play to. Yes, while we play to the traditional advantages we've always had, but there are new advantages that we need to bring to life. India, for instance, didn't have a great IT or ICT industry. They didn't have it as an advantage. They developed it along the way. Their Bollywood industry is something that's new. Nigeria is now doing the same. These are new industries that we can build, or new capabilities and advantages that we can have. The free trade area agreement that we signed in Kigali, and now signed, in Kigali we signed the declaration, we've now signed the full agreement in Nouakchott in Mauritania, has positioned South Africa wonderfully, I would like to believe. In fact, the continent applauded the moment of our signing the agreement, because they said there are two economies on the continent, South Africa and Nigeria, which, if they don't join this free trade agreement, the whole free trade agreement is of very, very little use. Now, with South Africa having signed, they are looking forward to Nigeria also signing. What does it mean? What will it mean for us as a country? It means that the whole continent begins to open up for real products that we should now manufacture as we reboot our manufacturing capability to flood the continent with our products. And the continent is saying that's what we are waiting for, because we are tired of importing products from Europe and bringing them into the continent. The other day I went on a visit, a working visit to Namibia, and met the president of Namibia, President Geingob, in his state house. And I asked, who built this? He says, the North Koreans built this. And it's beautifully done. And I said, and did you pay for it? He said, yes, of course we paid for it. And I said, the materials, wonderful materials which we can have in our country. He says, yeah, it was all brought from North Korea. And there I immediately saw that this cooperation that we need to foster between our countries has to be much more robust and effective, because the Namibians did not need to go to North Korea to go and build their state house. And it's a state house that would have cost more than R1 billion or so. And it could have been done, yes, by Namibian companies and South African companies, where South African companies could have transferred skills. The same thing happened when we were in Mauritania. The big conference center was built with materials all from Europe. So we need to play on the advantages that we have as a continent, as a country within the continent, where South Africa is seen as a player that can enhance the strengths of the continent. And this time round, the welcoming, I'm being chased away now, we were so wonderfully welcomed by the rest of the continent because they would like South Africa to provide leadership. And we are ready to provide that leadership. But we would like to see that leadership not only being provided by the government alone. This is where the China effect comes into play for me. Would like to see that leadership being provided by the rest of us, with all of us working as a pride of lions, going out into the continent. Is the continent ready? Yes, it is ready. We are ready to pursue the African agenda. So this BRICS summit provides us with a great opportunity to project and to showcase South Africa, and I'm glad that you will be going to the Business Council or the Business Forum. The heads of state will be there, and I'm sure we're going to have almost 1,000 business people, and it will be wonderful if the South African business community is well represented and showing that it can punch at a particular level. Now, there are quite a number of challenges and issues that we are facing now as a nation, and one of those which we need to raise at this level is the uneasiness that is beginning to spread around our country in relation to the fuel price increase. A number of our people who use transportation to go to work or to go about are now reeling from the price increase of the fuel, and all of us know that it's as a result of the depreciation of our currency as well as the increase in the price. Now, we have had to give this matter some consideration because ordinary people out there are saying we're just seeing price increases of everything. VAT went up, the fuel is going up, and the rates and taxes for electricity are also going up. So South Africans are now suffering under the burden of the increases that have just been placed on their heads. And it is for this reason, as a responsive government, we will soon be announcing a package of measures to ease the burden of these increases, especially on the poor people in our country. Some of these measures will include the urgent finalization of the VAT-exempt products, a call also that we want to make to retailers and say particularly food processors that they should hold back from imposing increases particularly on food items and items that our people use on an ongoing basis. Now, we know that this is having a very negative impact on our people, but also on the economy. It is important that we are all working together in this regard, and I'm particularly pleased that we are here with the business community. I've asked ministers who are in the economic cluster to finalize this package within the next 2 weeks, and we will therefore embark on a program of engaging with the business sector and find ways in which we can ameliorate all this, particularly as it might have a negative impact on our people. Now, this for us is important because we facing quite challenging times, and these challenging times have a huge impact on ordinary people in our country. So we want to make a further appeal to retailers, to food processors, and to all those who might be getting, and also those who are involved in the transport sector, might be getting very, very tempted to increase prices, to hold back. We want to work on this package that we want to have our ministers finalizing, and then we will be announcing. The other issue which has raised its head in the recent past, in the past few days, is on the land reform program that we've embarked upon. Now, the parliamentary process is underway, and hearings are being held throughout the length and the breadth of the country. And a number of people are also getting concerned on whether we are going to embark on a process of grabbing the land, particularly in the communal and rural areas. Now, I'd like to make it very clear that it is not government's intention to go and grab land from rural communities, land that is under the control of traditional leaders, and more particularly, we have no intention whatsoever to go and grab the land that is controlled by the Ingonyama Trust. No intention whatsoever. Our program of land redistribution and land reform is going to follow a constitutional process and route. We are now involved in these discussions through various hearings that are taking place. And this is where South Africans are becoming robust, are becoming very, very vocal. And there is just no need for anyone to feel that war should be declared because this matter is being addressed. There is just no need for anyone to feel fearful about this. I am going to be meeting with His Majesty the King to address this matter so that whatever fears he and the Zulu nation has on this matter should be completely dispelled, because we have no such intention. In the end, our objective is to have the land reform process properly handled, and at the government level, we have also appointed a number of ministers who are going to look closely at this matter as part of the whole agrarian reform process that government is embarking on. So I think with those issues, if they might cause any noise and cause any discomfort to anyone, particularly as we go to the Brics summit, I'd like to dispel any fear and any concern that anyone has. As South Africans, we will always seek to resolve whatever problem and challenge in the usual way that we have always done, through collaboration, through proper negotiation, and through settling whatever disputes that we have. I'd like to wish you all well as you participate in this summit. It is going to be a very important summit. The level of interest that is being shown by a number of business people from all over the world to come to this summit is quite instructive. And I'm saying that let us take it up as South Africans. This is a great moment for all of us to showcase our country, to showcase our capabilities, but also more importantly to showcase the collaboration that we have built over a number of years, where business, labor, government and community are able to work together to address whatever challenge we have. And good luck for your attendance at the summit. Thank you very much.